Hey, Kat Chancellor here with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I want to take advantage of showing you another card using the Boughs of Holly suite. This is featured in the current mini catalog, which expires December 31st, 2022. I'm using lots of the dies and framelits that come with this set. They layer really beautifully, as you can see how the cutout for the little berries are, and make a really nice card if you like layering. It's worth buying this set before the catalog expires. I'm using the Distress Gold. It's from the annual catalog, as well as Real Red, Pear Pizzazz, and Evening Evergreen cardstock. And the base card is going to be out of Very Vanilla, as well as what I'm cutting, the label that I'm stamping with Real Red ink for the Christmas sentiment that goes onto the front of this card. The stamp set had some wonderful sentiments with it. It's a photopolymer set, so you just simply put it on your acrylic block, and it fits perfectly inside the label die that comes with this set of dies. I'm using Real Red. Is basically the only ink that you'll need for this, since most of the project will be die cutting. Now, before we get started with this, the DSP that comes with this set is the Boughs of Holly 12x12 DSP. I'm going to show you a technique here where I'm taking a stencil and using some different types of textural paste. One paste is featured in the annual catalog, and it is the regular paste. The other is a grit paste that is featured from I believe it's Ranger, and it just kind of gives a different technique for creating a nice background. It doesn't take away from the poinsettia pattern. It just kind of adds a nice, interesting element to all the layering that goes on with this card. So this is really the first thing you want to do before you build the rest of your card, because you want that to dry. You can see one is transparent. That is the one that is in the annual catalog, and the other one is more opaque, and that is the one that is by Ranger, and it's called Grit Paste. The other thing I wanted to show is the textural elements that come with this suite are wooden elements. You can either color them, or in this case I'm going to show you a technique using the gold flakes that are in the annual catalog. I just took some Tombow glue. I'm going to spread it on the front of my textural element, my wooden element here. I'm going to let that dry because Tombow glue dries tacky. So we want to take advantage of that characteristic for this particular glue. Let it dry, let it get nice and tacky. When it is nice and tacky, you're going to grab your gold flakes, and here I have a tin that I use, and I'm going to place them inside the tin, and that is how I'm going to spread the gold flakes. Now, I'm using my embossing buddy because what that does is going to help keep the gold flakes from adhering to your fingers. So that's kind of a tip. Again, I'm just taking the flakes. I'm going to spread it onto my wooden textural element. I'm using my embossing buddy to kind of keep the static electricity from my fingers and keep my fingers kind of free of any of the stickiness that would kind of impede spreading the gold flakes. Here's one that I have had in this tin for a while, so it's already dry and ready to go. I'm just going to get a brush, and I'm going to brush off along the edges and kind of clean up the excess gold flakes from this textural element. And you just kind of rub it, and kind of get them off using the stiff. This is a pretty stiff brush, and when you rub it, what you're kind of doing is you're kind of burnishing some of that gold into that wooden element. I'm switched over to a smaller brush to get some of the other little detail pieces that are there, but you can see how nice it kind of takes that plain wooden textural element and kind of gives it a little bit of gilding, a little bit of bling. Now I can tell you that any of your Stampin' Up! Textural elements or embellishments that you may have with any of your other sets, yeah, you can use the same technique. Now I'm using a very vanilla cardstock. I'm going to cut this portrait as opposed to landscape. I'm cutting at 4 1/4, and then I'm going to crease at 5 1/2, and that's going to create our base card. I'm then going to go ahead and pull in my my little mini die cut machine with my little mini plates, and we're going to begin cutting all our elements for our card. And I'm just going to kind of back out for a little bit. This is I love the mini because it's so convenient to put on your desk when you're cutting out little elements such as this. I'm going to begin with the label, which I'm cutting out of the very vanilla cardstock. And this is the label that's going to go on the front, and we're also going to stamp our sentiment. I'm going to go ahead, and I hope you enjoy some Christmas music while we watch all the elements be cut. Okay, so now that we have all our pieces cut, we're now going to go ahead and assemble the pieces that need to be assembled before we begin to create the front of our card. And I'm using some fine tip glue here on the label part to adhere the pear pizzazz and the early evergreen kind of background that's going to go to kind of make our holly leaves have a little bit more color and dimension. So I recommend fine tip glue here, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply it, and it fits nicely. I'm going to do this for both of the pieces, both for the pear pizzazz and for the evening evergreen. The DSP that I'm using that comes with this set has a lot of really nice colors that you can pull from. I would recommend before the catalog does go out on 31 December to take advantage of any of the DSP that you can get your hands on. I love to buy my DSP and have that on reserve because I usually make I save it and then I use it the following year for making gift bags. Okay, here I am stamping our sentiment using Real Red. Again, the other colors in this DSP are Poppy Parade and Cherry Cobbler. Here are our little berries. I've used the Distressed Gold specialty paper, and again I'm using some fine tip glue. You could also put some adhesive multi-purpose sheet on the back of the Distressed Gold paper to just kind of peel and apply onto the little holly berries. But again, fine tip glue works just as fast and is just as convenient, and it really makes the little berries pop. Another idea is to use Real Red for the background and then use Cherry Cobbler to cut out the outline to give the berries a different look, a different dimension to it. But there's lots of ways you can play with this set and pick different colors to kind of highlight what you want to do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put these aside and grab our base card, which is our very vanilla 5.5 by 4.25, and you can see how nice our background pieces DSP. One was using the Shimmery White Finish embossing paste on page 128 of the annual catalog, and the other one was using a Ranger Distress Grit paste that was opaque. So you can see the different types of effects, and I think it really adds a nice touch to the card and to the background paper. I especially like the more translucent texture that the one on the left has. These are techniques that you can use that really take your card to the next step and really show kind of mastery, and they're very easy to do when you're doing layering. So it's nice to layer with lots of pieces, but it's also kind of nice to layer with different kinds of effects on your background piece, like this kind of a nice texture. So now that we have those pieces on, we're going to go ahead and we're going to lay out our design for the front of a card. I'm using the darker green, the early evergreen piece on the right, because it does have those opaque texture on it, and the other one I'm using the lighter color green because it kind of fades into the less obvious texture. Now, as I lay these out, I'm also going to pull in some of these other little pieces that come with the stamp set, the little fronds in both Pear Pizzazz and Early Evergreen. And we're going to begin with using our stamping piercing mat and our silicone craft mat, and I'm going to put just a very, very thin layer along the outside edge of this die because I don't want it to pop up when you're either folding the card and putting it into an envelope. And then I'm just going to use that for the back as well. So this is a fine tip glue that I'm using in another dispenser. I'm just going to lay that out, and this is going to kind of be the our background, kind of be our base piece for how we're going to arrange the rest of our pieces. And I'm just kind of making sure that it sticks well onto the textured background. Again, I'm just kind of putting a very, very thin piece using a fine tip glue dispenser along the back to make that adhere. I'm not putting any on the leaf part, that green leaf part, because I'm going to pick that up and use it to begin to add some of our pieces, kind of stick it behind to create our arrangement here. Okay, see, I want to have that kind of pop up a little bit. So now I'm going to add my this is the wood piece. That's going to go on next because I'm going to use the berries to kind of cover the end of that stem. Again, I'm using some fine tip glue along the berry pieces and very nicely along the stem. And I'm going to add that right to the bottom end of my label, and I'm going to do the same with the other. These are the wooden pieces that I used the gold flakes with multi-purpose glue. Again, just kind of adding those pieces and gluing it to the back, and kind of creating my front. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the berries, and what I want to do with the berries is I want to bring in some dimensionals. I have both the regular size dimensionals in both the regular and in the black. I'm going to use the black here, and I want to place the dimensionals where I want them on the card as opposed to putting them on the back of the berries. This way I know I will have them, I won't have them interfere with the wood embellishment piece that I have. This is called the textural element. That's part of the BOUGHS of Holly suite. And that way I just kind of place them on my card, remove the backing. I'm using the mini black dimensionals here, and then I can go ahead and place my holly berries. And if I want to add any extra, I can always just go ahead and kind of place some more just to make sure that I have the berries securely on the back. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, and this is where I'm going to add these little fronds, these little evergreen pieces that are both in the early evergreen and the pear pizzazz. And I'm going to use both colors, and I'm just kind of sorting them out here because I've cut, I think I have 2 of each that are going to go on each card. Yeah, so I have two of each, and I'm just kind of sorting them out. Now for the pear pizzazz leaf, I'm going to use the darker frond to kind of accent and that lighter leaf color there. You can see how nice that kind of adds nice contrast. And then I'm going to add the pear pizzazz piece to the bottom to kind of pick up that color from the top. And I'm just alternating here with my different colors just to kind of add some more interest, and I just love the layering of this suite. The ability to just kind of layer these is really pretty, and then with the added texture on that that background is nice as well. Now you can go ahead and add some fine tip glue, some glue to kind of adhere the leaf that we have left without any adhesive on the back, so we could kind of do this background layering. So now we're going to go ahead and add our frond to this piece. Again, I'm just kind of adding some glue to the back, and I'm kind of vacillating between whether I want to put the pear pizzazz or the early evergreen. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the last card. I'm going to put the opposite color against the early evergreen so I can show some contrast. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the complementary color kind of there in the background as well. And this is, again, I'm just trying to alternate the colors so that they just kind of add some neat interest. I'm going to add the glue again to the back of my leaf so I can adhere that down now that I've assembled. And just hold that for a few minutes, kind of let that glue, and there you go. Isn't that beautiful? Very easy. I love the layering. When you're using things like the embossing paste and any kind of different embossing matte or decorative masks, you can come up with some really neat effects. So I hope you like this. Please like and share, and as always, these are available until 31 December 2022. Take advantage of it. This is a great set to add to your crafting room for the holidays. Kat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection. Happy stamping.